The meeting of the Board of Ellis County Commissioners will now come to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bobby, if you could call the roll.
Commissioner Joe LaRue.
Here.
Chair Butch Schleier.
Here.
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Order of business, I don't believe there's any changes to the order of business, and there's no executive sessions. Prior minutes, commissioners, you get a chance to review prior minutes?
Yep. Everything looks good.
Minutes stand as submitted. Consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sure. I'll move to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Issues from persons not on the order of business. Okay. No one's standing up out there. And we have the Buckeye Wind Farm donation. Lyle.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lyle Pantel, Ellis County Emergency Manager, Assistant Fire Chief. With me this morning is Mr. Nolan Smiler, Operations Manager for Buckeye Wind Energy. Just a little background on our situation here. For the past few years, Buckeye Wind Energy has been gracious enough to assist us in preparing for emergencies at their location, usually at one of their wind towers, to help fire, EMS, and law, and make sure that we're prepared for any kind of incident that happens out there. And they usually have us out for a meal afterwards, which is very gracious of them. We really appreciate it. Usually goes a long way with first responders to have a meal. They're also gracious enough to donate some funds every year, which in the past we've used for our protective wildland firefighting gear. This year we're going to use it to help reimburse the costs that we've spent on filters and our hot shields, which is just another form of filter in case someone doesn't want to wear the full face respirator. They have just at least some kind of bandana, help keep the smoke, soot, ash, dirt out of their respiratory system. Do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. Commissioner Joe? Neil?
Nope.
Okay.
Nolan, do you have anything you want to say?
Just that we greatly appreciate the work that we do with Ellis County Fire and Rescue, all the first responders. Greatly appreciate all the support, for sure. Happy to do whatever we can to assist. It's a good partnership that we have, so I'd like to see it keep going.
Okay.
Nolan brought with him a big check to get a photo op. So this time, Darren's going to take a picture for us.
Do you need the commissioners out here?
I would have done my hair.
Turn this way. Come over there, right in the podium. Sorry.
TV in the background. Gotta make sure I get Bobby in the picture.
How's that?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
So the only action that I request is that we accept the donation, as long as you guys don't have any issues with that.
No problem at all accepting the donation. And it's real good you guys can work together like you're doing, and we do appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay.
Thanks again, Nolan
Take care.
and Lyle.
Okay, the 4-H Youth Development Cottonwood Extension Agent.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for giving us a short spot on the agenda this morning. I'm Donna Krug, the Director, for a couple more months. We're getting our team up to capacity. We added Tamara Robertson as our 4-H Youth Development Agent here in the Hayes office just a couple weeks ago. So I asked her if she'd share just a little bit about her background.
Good morning. As she said, my name's Tamara Robertson. I'm originally from Dodge City, Kansas. I grew up in 4-H and have spent the last 23 years of my life following in the footsteps of a lot of good agents that I've looked up to, and I'm excited for this opportunity to be the 4-H Youth Development Agent.
And also here today, Stacy Campbell, our agriculture agent, and Monique Kerner, who's fairly new too. I introduced her back in September. So, any questions that you have?
No
for us?
questions. Congratulations to
Yeah.
Tamara.
Yes.
Welcome. We look forward to having you work here with the Extension Office. So,
She looks good in green, doesn't she?
yeah, absolutely.
And purple, you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, sheriff vehicle, Scott.
Good morning, Commissioners. Scott Brown, Ellis County Sheriff. I'm assuming you've had the opportunity to look over the purchase. As you could see during that time, we had a little bit of problems locating a van. Lewis Chrysler was willing to order one, even if we weren't going to take it, and because they didn't know if they were going to get it manufactured or not. Consequently, they are, and we have an actual VIN for it. And as you may recall, we talked about using the ARPA funds to purchase this van, and it'd be the last one for transports of inmates. It'll be a minivan, so we can use it to take them to care and treatment, run around town with them where we don't need to utilize that full-size van that we have that insert in and save that one. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the 2022 Pacifica touring van from Chrysler, Lewis Chrysler, for $37,884.95. Any questions, Commissioners?
Now, are you replacing a van, Scott, with this?
No, we only have the one big van, and this will
Okay.
be the second one, and we'll be getting rid of a smaller, we're using one of our old vehicles for transport, so we'll be selling that one.
And it was very difficult to find vans.
Yes, we didn't know if we were even going to get one, so.
Okay. Okay, I have no questions. Commissioner Neal, you have any questions?
I have no question. Just,
Commissioner Joe?
No question.
Okay. Is there a motion for this?
yeah, I'll make a motion, Commission, to accept the bid for Lewis Chrysler Dodge Jeep of Hayes for the purchase of a 2022 Pacifica touring van for $37,884.95 with the ARPA funds.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Oh,
Scott.
and one last thing, I would like to thank each and every one of you. I'm apparently having a hard time talking today. Too much coffee or something. For giving raises to our employees that are needed in this time. Words can't express how thankful I am that you understand the importance of providing that to all the employees of Ellis County. Thank you very much.
Well,
You're welcome.
okay, next item is the pad foot roller purchase. Brendan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brendan McKay, Ellis County Public Works Director. So as you recall, when we were doing that repair to Ellis Avenue, actually before we got started, our pad foot vibratory roller got overcome by the fire, and well, I got parts of it that melted out still in the back of my truck. It's used infrequently, but when it's used, we need it. So we looked at renting one for this winter period to help out with the new building location. That's roughly $10,000 a month. And unfortunately, our projects aren't done all in 1 month sections. Usually where that piece of equipment's used is a couple hours here on a culvert overlay, or a couple days here replacing a bridge. It's only used in those smaller areas, so to have it come out for a day is $3,000. We really need a piece of equipment to replace that. because it serves a vital role. Though it's not used every day, when it's used, it is needed. We've been waiting. A new one's around $180,000. It's kind of hard to justify that when we only potentially use it 200 hours a year. Really depends on the amount of rainfall we get in a year. If we don't have a lot of rainfall, we're able to do a lot of culvert and bridge repairs. We use a lot more. If we have too much water, same thing, it'll get used because we had a lot of washouts. But we found 4 currently on Purple Wave. They're down in Oklahoma, so I'm asking for permission to bid on those. We don't know which one yet. I didn't want to drive 5 hours, 6 hours away to go look at machines without having your permission to do so and approval for us to take action on them. There's 3 Ham H7s, which are an 84-inch open cam pad foot roller. And then there's 1 CAT CP 563E or C. That one is also an open cab. Whichever one, if the commission allows us to go for it, we will put a cab on it ourselves, just because it sitting outside in the open air in winter times, not the best for having employees do the job when it only moves 5 miles an hour. It'd be very cold for them. So the CAT ones, I've included also what ones have sold for recently. I've also got pricing on similar age CAT machine up in Nebraska. That one's for sale for $67,000. The CAT one, we would have to add a bolt-on pad foot kit to it, so it wouldn't be just a smooth drum, it'd have those pads on it. That's roughly $10,000. So for the CAT one, if granted permission, we'd like to spend around $55,000 up to on the auction. And then the Ham ones would be around $40,000. They don't, purchase price of the new machines, whether Ham or CAT, are similar, but the Hams don't have quite the resale value that the CAT machines do. I believe we'll have better product support from the CAT machine. But if it's going to need $40,000 worth of work when we go look at it, we won't progress with that one. We'll look at one of those Ham ones instead.
Okay. So the CAT would be a better machine if everything is good on it.
That's our feeling with our talking with mechanics in other counties that run both machines.
How old was the machine that got burned up?
It's a 2002,
How many hours did it have?
roughly 6,000 hours,
And you were planning to replace that at some point too?
2024.
Okay, so you were going to replace it in just 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And a new cost, you were looking at a new cost at that point?
No, we were looking at another new to us one at that
Okay.
point in time as well.
Okay. And you do have money in Fund 16 to make this purchase?
Yes, sir.
And we are anticipating an insurance.
Yes. Insurance is looking at $20,000 to $25,000 for our piece of equipment that burned down. We're still talking with them on it because their comparisons don't have all the attachments ours had, so.
Okay. Commissioner Neal, you have any questions?
Pretty much echo what you said, Butch. Only thing I guess I'm going to ask is on the 6,000 hours, was that purchased new or is that a used one?
It was a used one.
Okay,
We purchased it, it was a 2002 that was purchased in 2005.
okay.
Had under 2,000 hours on it, if I'm not mistaken, so put 4,000 hours on it over a 20-year period, or 17-year period.
I guess so in that time frame, what kind of funding did we spend on that for any kind of repairs? Is it pretty,
Yeah, we spent a fair amount on it,
Okay.
just because it,
okay,
being left sitting out in the elements, I mean, that's
Right.
one of the nicest, best things about our new facility we'll have this cold storage and covered storage, so it's not aging in the weather, sitting out in that weather, getting full of pack rats. I mean, that's what some of the damage that had to be repaired to it was just the weathering of it from sitting outside.
okay. And I guess it's almost like having a trencher, it beats itself up because of the vibration and
Correct.
the heavy work. Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Joe?
I think it's a good purchase. You know, the wear and tear and maintenance, that's going to be any piece of equipment, no matter where you get it from,
Yes, sir.
new or used. When the insurance payment comes through, that'll help defray some of the cost of whatever you end up bidding. And, you know, just the rental alone of the equipment between now and, say, 2 years later when it was scheduled to be replaced initially,
Yeah.
with that spend, we could have bought one at an auction. So I think it's a good thing.
And we had looked at new ones because we thought potentially we could get rid of our double drum roller that we use for laying out our asphalt. Because the newer style ones have a smooth drum with a bolt-on pad foot. It's 12 bolts and it takes about an hour and a half to pull off. After talking with our asphalt suppliers and other county contacts, they didn't recommend doing that because you leave tire tracks behind, even if you're on a smooth drum. So that's why we're back to looking in the used market for one.
Okay, and you did say you'd feel comfortable at 55,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Because the one for 67, it had $14,000 worth of repair work done to it already. This one, I don't know its repair history as of yet. I didn't feel comfortable driving down to Edmond, Oklahoma without having the go-ahead from the commission that we could pursue these. That's going to be a day trip to
okay.
bring a few people down there to look at the machines and get their histories.
Well, Commissioners, I move to approve the amount of up to $55,000 for the bidding at Purple Wave Auction, scheduled to end on December 29th, 2022, for the purchase of a vibrating single drum compactor.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right. Thank you very
Brandon.
much.
Brandon?
Okay. Solid Waste Management Plan changes. Justin?
Good morning, Commissioners. Justin Craig, Environmental Services Director. In front of you this morning is just our annual review. It's the updates to our solid waste management plan. The only changes would be to replace some of the committee members that are no longer with the county and throughout the county with different business owners and whatnot. So it's just updated that, and it's updated our contract listings that are on there. For this update, I just need the approval of the changes to submit to Jeff Walker, and in lieu of a resolution, I can just send him the minutes of this meeting for that. So
And do you try to update this plan every year?
there's an annual review every year, and then there'll be a 5-year renewal next year. But
Okay.
we'll update any more changes in that.
Commissioner Joe, any questions, concerns?
No questions.
Commissioner Neal?
No, no question.
Okay, is there a motion for this?
Sure, I'll move to approve the proposed changes to the Ellis County Solid Waste Management Plan.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, and the next agenda item is the courts fund transfer. Mike?
Good morning, Mike Smith, Ellis County District Court, Court Administrator. So we had these funds that came through as part of the Information Network of Kansas that get deposited into an account it was a monthly deposit, I guess. Those were all for searches of court records that we had, or for whatever reason they were searching, that we got a portion of those costs. So with this fund had built up to a certain amount and to the $70,316.50, and we have recently had a change where the central processing or central payment center of OJA has taken over most of our accounts, and they've asked us to clean this up. So we pulled those funds, put them into as a unanticipated revenue, essentially. So we brought those back over to our account, and we're asking to have those put into our Fund 16 for capital outlay, future capital outlay projects. It's a good thing that, you know, this money came in, and we'd just like to be able to hang on to that for future projects. We've got, you know, a little amount of money into our capital outlay right now, and this would help give us a head start on some future projects that we might have. We don't have a lot of projects built up, but one of them that we do have is a new bench for the third floor courtroom. We would like to work on at some point, so this would give us a good, probably advance that project considerably.
Well, it never hurts to have money in reserve.
Right.
You never know what might come up. And this is just simply a matter of cleanup. Those funds couldn't be deposited directly into Fund 16. So it's just a matter of transfer them out of your courthouse or your court fund into Fund 16, and then they'll be reserved for any capital outlay projects.
Correct.
Commissioner Neal, do you have any questions?
No, Sounds like Mike's got a plan for a little portion of it and an upgrade, which is good for our community and our courts, and yeah, appreciate it.
Commissioner Joe?
No questions. I understand needing to kind of move things around to keep your books clean, so.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve a transfer of $70,319.50 from the court's general fund budget to the court's Fund 16 Equipment Reserve Fund.
Okay. I'll second that motion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, the next item is the Law Enforcement Center HVAC upgrades. Darren?
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Myers, County Administrator. Before you this morning is a proposal to move forward with the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units at the Law Enforcement Center. We put the bid out, where we created the specifications, put the bid out, and received one bid within about a month of the time that it was out. The bid specifications include several projects within the Law Enforcement Center, and to be more specific, it's for the basement and the first floor areas. So the basement's where some minimal offices are, the backup emergency operations center, and the first floor is where Hayes Police Department and the Ellis County Sheriff's Office offices are at. The second floor, which is the jail, all is ran off of rooftop units to control the jail's heating and venting, or heating and air conditioning. Some of this, or actually almost all of this project was, I believe, if Greg said, was over, most of the equipment that's being replaced is over 50 years old, and none of it was included in the remodel that was done back in the several years prior to 2015 for the Law Enforcement Center and the courthouse. And the biggest part is going back through and putting in new controls, and the goal there was to make the process simpler for our buildings and grounds technician, Greg and Keith, so that way it's on the same system, the Honeywell system that we just upgraded this building to. And then a lot of equipment to be replaced at that building, including the boilers and the chillers, valving, cleaning all of the air handling units and the fan coil units throughout the building, and actually putting in I can't get too technical because this isn't my part of it. I'm not reaching for help yet, but Glassman Corporation is out in the audience if you have more specific questions. But they're putting a reheat coil in the air handling unit to help temperature the increased flow of fresh air coming into the building, so we can meet those requirements. It also includes some upgrades to the specific units in the dispatch center for the dispatchers, putting air ionizers in there to clean up the quality of air within that basement section. This is the center portion of the basement. I put a lot more specifics in there as to what all is being proposed to be replaced. We did have several alternates that we considered as part of the project. One of the alternates included putting a fence area around the rock garden, which is the area between the Hayes Police Department offices and the library. Our insurance has told us for several years that they would like to see that area fenced off, and which is what we're doing out here eventually after the chiller and the generator gets placed. Mm-hmm. But we'll look into that alternate later next year as to what other some options are for that. And then we also looked at upgrading some of the newer units in the courthouse. Those were the alternate number 3, but due to the price of those and speaking with Greg, we're not suggesting going with those alternates as well as the fence or replacing the air handler unit. So the proposal today is just to go with the base bid plus the 10% contingency, because like this project here at this building, it's nice to have that contingency on there, because once you start digging into a system with equipment that old and a building that big, there are going to be unforeseen things that happen that we may need to fix or change throughout the process. So as I stated, Glassman Corporation is here, and Greg Herbert's in the back if you have anything more specific in regards to the project itself.
Do we know when this project will be estimated to be completed?
So Yes, I put it in there. I don't remember the exact dates or times, but it'll be roughly June to July. The equipment was 16 to 18 weeks out for delivery if it was ordered today, so that's 4 to 5 months just to get the chiller in Glassman's possession. It's a little bit quicker than the chiller that we have for this building. If you remember back, I believe when the commission approved this building, it was in March. Logan just told me today that the chiller for this building just showed up on Saturday, so that was about eight months for it to get here. So the lead time for that chiller is smaller, but it's a lot quicker. So that's a lot of that project completion date is due to the supply chain issues on having to wait for some of the equipment that's not readily available.
And ARPA funds would be used for this project?
Yes, sir. This is one of the projects that the commission, when we started receiving the ARPA funds, this was one of the projects that the commission wanted to use those funds for.
Okay. Commissioner Neal, do you have any questions?
Just comment, I'm glad we're going with the Honeywell system. That way it's easy for Greg and it's all standardized, and we'll get that building up to what it's supposed to be in a high efficiency world. So I'm glad for that.
Commissioner Joe?
Just everything looks in order, looking at all the attachments and reading through everything, and I'm just glad that we were able to use ARPA funding for it. So
Oh, absolutely.
that helps us out tremendously.
Okay, is there a motion for this?
Sure, I'll move to approve purchase order number 7691 and award the law enforcement HVAC bid to Glassman Corporation.
And I would like to make a comment before I second. I do appreciate the job that Glassman's doing and their professionalism, so I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, the next item is the Schenk Building Rentals.
The next item is to discuss the rental agreements that we have out at the Schenk and Unrein building. As the commission is aware, in our general fund, we have one department specific to the rental program that we have for those buildings. Each year, actually about 3 years ago, we reorganized Department 52, which is the building rentals, and Department 56, which is the fairgrounds, to make sure that between the two departments, funds and bills and invoices were being credited or paid out of the appropriate funds. It was a complete overhaul, and so that way we can truly identify what the costs are to rent those buildings out. Over the years, we've tried to equalize the revenues to the expenses. The last increase that we had for these rentals was several years ago, but if you look into the budgets each year, this year is the first year that we're getting closer to having a balanced budget per se in the buildings rentals line. However, when we make any changes to the rental amounts, it usually takes about 2 years to go into effect because the buildings are very popular to be rented out, and they're usually rented out 2 years in advance. So we won't really truly see any of these revenue increases until probably the middle of '24 when those rentals actually start happening. Currently, it's booked out all the way through the start of 2024 for the most of the weekends and events that is usually rented for. The weekend rental rate is being suggested to move from $800 to $1,000. This was a kind of determination that I worked with some of the members of the Fair Board. The Fair Board took it to their Fair Board meeting a couple weeks ago, I think on November 17th, and they also approved the rental increase from $800 to $1,000 for the weekend. And now that we're just asking the commission's support to approve the rate increase as well.
Okay, and is this $1,000 per rental, is that pretty much according to what the community standard would be for such rentals?
I don't know the exact rates of some of the competition between the Strand and the new business up, the Midnight Ranch, I believe is called up north, but these rates are still significantly cheaper than both those events. And they're not true comparisons based on what you're looking for, based on the availability that's out there with Some places don't have kitchens. Some places have certain places where you can have food brought in or made for you, like out at the Rose Garden. So they feel that these prices are still competitive and cheaper than other options in town.
Okay. Commissioner Joe, do you have any questions?
I'd say we have pretty competitive rates if we're booked that far out, so, and if the Fair Board approved it and they're closer to the ground on this, then I don't see an issue with it.
Okay. Commissioner Neal, do you have any
I'm-
questions?
Just a comment, it's due. I mean, with the cost of everything else, you don't go too many places and have that option to bring in whatever you want, and no, I'm good with that.
Okay, Commissioners, I move to approve a rate increase for the Shank and Unrein Building weekend rental rates to $1,000.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay. County Administrator report. Darren.
I do have a couple items this morning. One of these days I'll get used to saying morning. But first off, as the commission has known, we've engaged with architects for the new Public Works facility north of Hayes. We've got the initial rendering, which I shared at a commission meeting, just for the commission to look at the buildings. We've now got a revised footprint of the building. They're currently working on civil work for the site layout and estimates for the new building. The architect would like to come back out on Monday, December the 19th, to have a meeting with staff, commissioners, and the future commissioners for next year, just to kind of go over the building so we can keep the process moving along as to the proposed schedule that was agreed upon. They will be out in Hayes all day meeting with staff, but just a meeting for the commission itself. I was just basically asking if the commissioners would like to attend, and if we did have two, that I would schedule a special meeting for the day, so that way the public is aware that we would have two commissioners present at the meeting discussing county business. And then I was going to propose, if that did happen, that we either have it right around lunchtime, like around 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. for the meeting, so that way it would coincide somewhat with your lunch hours.
Okay. Sounds good.
Go ahead and proceed with a special meeting.
Probably so. Mhm.
I have reached out to the two new commissioners, let them know the date, and I'll work with getting them there as well, so that way they're up to date on where we're at with the building costs and the plan.
Okay.
Would the commission prefer 11 a.m. or 1 p.m.?
Commissioner Neal?
I would prefer 11 if
11 works for me, too.
Okay.
That would be on the 19th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you'll keep us up to speed on where at?
Yes, I need to reach back out. I sent them a question, find out what type of facility they're wanting. If we
Okay.
actually have a meeting, we might try to either have it down here in the commission chambers or maybe in the basement of the emergency services building, so that way we can look on a big screen of the buildings and not have to all hover around a few pieces of paper. We can all look at the same things together. And then the other site work, we'll probably end up, staff, Public Works will be meeting with them out at their facility. And I've also asked GLMV to look at our skylights at this building. As the commission is aware, those were damaged in that big hailstorm. They're cracked. They can't be replaced. So we're running out of options on what we can do to get those replaced. And so we'll meet with buildings and ground staff hopefully that day too, for them to get up on the roof to see what they can do to put a plan together to move forward with those.
Okay.
So once I do have a location, I'll send out a meeting invite and reminder.
Okay, sounds good.
The next item is just a quick reminder that this weekend we're having our holiday Christmas party for all of our employees. We'll be out at the fairgrounds. So I know most of you are coming, and we have about 140 employees and their families, so we should have a good turnout. And it's usually a good time with a lot of good food, so looking forward to that. And last Friday, I went to Topeka to the Capitol to attend the graduation for 3 of our two of our employees, one former employee, for their CPM graduation, which is a certified public manager. Brendan McKay, our Public Works Director, and Vern Reuter, our County Treasurer, both graduated from the program. And at the time, at the start of the class, Mason Reuter, our Environmental Services Director, which is since left and is now working at TMP, but they all three graduated. So congratulations to them for a year-long effort for that class. And starting next month already, we have 3 more that are starting. We have 1 employee in Treasury, our County Sheriff, and then our new Environmental Services Director is starting their CPM program. And finally, we won't sing, but I just wanted to wish Commissioner Younger a happy birthday today.
Thank you.
He said he was 50 years young. I don't
Yep.
believe it, but
All day.
that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Darren. County Commission reports. Commissioner Neal?
Yeah, the first thing, and I didn't get to stay that night, but Darren had a debriefing on the October fire out here. I thought it was a good turnout, but he said it's like that normal. Did we ever get recognized, you guys? What a feeling. They were all the volunteer firefighters, which they go above and beyond, and along with all our county employees. There was a lot of good talk. Not only that night, afterwards, some of the people have been calling and seeing me on the street and thanking us all. So I think we should feel proud of that. And then the other thing is I did go to the Ellis City meeting last night. So, but yeah, there's a lot of happy employees that were stepped up and give them a little bit more, just the way the world is. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Commissioner Joe?
Sure. I'll start with just kind of echoing what you said about the CPM program. I think it's great that we've had 3 graduates this past cycle, and we have 3 in the upcoming. I think it speaks well of the county and their belief in their employees as far as professional development goes. As far as a commissioner report goes, I attended 1 Kansas Association of Counties governing board meeting and 1 regular meeting, and I attended a Kansas Workforce 1 state board meeting.
Okay, and I have no report. If there's no further business, the commission meeting will adjourn at 9:07.